Today we're going to be using our tire machine to remove tires and install some new ones, and along with that we're going to be replacing our TPMS sensors. So let's get started here. First thing we need to do is make sure all air is removed from our tire. So we're going to take the valve core removal tool and we're going to take all the air out of our tire by removing that. Alright, now that the air is almost out, we need to make sure there are no wheel weights anywhere on my rim or they will get dragged around the rim and scratch it up. So you're always going to check the outside surface, flip the tire around, check the inside edge here, make sure we don't have any wheel weights clipped on. The weights that are inside of the rim, we're going to worry about those later when we get to our wheel balancer. Now to make this easier to see for my viewers, I've added some flagging tape where my TPMS sensor is so that you can follow it around as I'm breaking the bead or as I'm mounting and dismounting the tire. Also, my tires are directional. They have an arrow on them indicating the direction of rotation is that way. So I just put a piece of tape on my rim so that I can mount up my new tires exact same orientation and not accidentally put one backwards. But very important with directional tires that have this V pattern to them. So let's get started breaking the bead. The key to breaking the bead with a TPMS sensor is to put the TPMS sensor at the very top or the very bottom. Now, this style does not have a band sensor in it where it's over on the opposite side, so we don't need to really worry about that. We just do not want to break the bead right here. I'm going to position my tire so that the shovel is on the sidewall of the tire, not touching the rim is the key part. Do not want this touching the rim or it will cause scratches. I'm going to step on my right pedal here for the shovel and break this bead. Going to spin it around 180 degrees. Now my sensor's all the way at the bottom, again, well clear of the shovel. Shovel's on the side wall of the tire, not touching my rim, and I'm going to break this side. Now, some might be really stubborn, you might have to repeat that a couple times. This is where it's a little more difficult to see and why I put the flagging tape on there. I need my sensor all the way at the bottom so it is not close to the shovel when I break this side loose. So it's all the way down there. Going to rotate 180 degrees. Shovel's on the sidewall, not touching my rim. TPMS is up here now. And now we've broken both beads on the tire loose, so it's going to come off very easy as we get up here to the turntable. So let's continue. Because we're working with an alloy wheel, we do not want to scratch it or cause cosmetic flaws, so we are going to outside clamp it. To do that, we need to make our jaws bigger than the size of the rim. So we're going to open these up all the way, step down, and let up. And now I'm going to start bringing them in slowly by stepping down on it. I'm just taking kind of a rough guess on getting it close to the same size. I'm going to take my tire, set it up here, and I forgot to do a step here. I need to take that center cap out. So we're going to flip this up. Grab our wheel weight pliers because they have a padded end on them and very gently knock that center cap out. Now, a lot of sidewalls can be very stiff. It's hard to push the rim down into the jaws of the table, so we're going to let our assist arm help us. We're going to put the cone right there. Bring our assist arm over and just gently put a little pressure on it. I'm not pushing very hard at all. Let me show you what that looks like underneath. You can see the jaws over there. They're pushing on the sidewall of the tire. Now they're going to be able to go into this opening and grab my rim. Same thing over here. And as I check the other sides, same thing. I'm not getting caught on the inside of my rim. All of them are on the outside. So now when I go to lock it in place, they're going to grab hold of the outer edge of my rim right here and not scratch anything. I am going to put my hands here just in case it were to pop up, which does occasionally happen. But that assist arm does a great job of kind of holding it in place, allowing those jaws to grab on. Going to move that out of the way. Now I need to bring in my arm here. And as I push this down, you're going to notice I'm hitting my rim. We're going to keep saying that's a big no-no. We don't want to hit our rims. So what we're going to do is use our assist arm, use our knob over here to push it away. So I'm going to push down and kind of hold it. You're going to see it hits. I'm going to keep pushing it away. Now I can push it all the way down. I'm going to go just a little more. Now I'm going to lock it in place. This is never going to hit my rim. This is what people do to screw up rims so often. If you read through my comment section on the main video, so many people complaining their rims got scratched up, and it's because of that right there. They didn't use the set screw here to hold that off of the rim. I'm going to do that one more time. Push down, make sure we're clear of the rim, it is not touching, and then lock it in place. When I lock that in place, it also raises the duck head a little bit, and that also keeps a little bit of a gap right there. So now that's never going to hit the rim, and I'm never going to get scratches. So now we have our next issue we have to address, which is the position of our TPMS sensor. If I were to leave it right here, as I use my lever, my tire's going to hit it and I'm going to crack my sensor. On this particular machine, the correct spot to put the TPMS sensor is going to be back up over here, right behind the duck tail. So I'm going to rotate this. We'll just take that off for now. That's why I put the other one on there. Right there, right back behind the duck tail. Now my tire's not going to hit that as I go and dismount it. And again, you can track the progress with the flagging tape on there. We're ready to start using our lever to basically unzip the tire up and over the rim. Now, our TPMS sensor is behind the duck tail back here, which is the proper location for this machine. So we need to push down on the sidewall of the tire. These are fairly stiff tires, so we're going to use our assist arm to help us out. I'm going to push that down just a little bit. Now I've got a little bit of a gap there, and I can get my lever into place. I have these protective sleeves on the bars, so as I flip this over, that sleeve will rest on the rim and not scratch it. Another option would be to use a rag and push it onto a rag. If you're my student, I really don't mind if the bar hits our practice rims. If we're doing it for real, I'll give you one of these so you don't scratch your nice rims. Now, you're going to notice it's really difficult to pull on this. I would have to use a lot of strength. What we're going to do is move our assist arm. Now I'm going to push down on the opposite side. And I'm going to let my bar go for a moment. And what I'm after is pushing my tire into the drop center of my rim, that deep part of the rim. That's going to allow me to slide my little circle over my big circle. So right here you can see I pushed it just enough. This bead is going to go into the deep part of my rim and allow me to get this tire off much more easily. So let's take a look at how this goes. Now I can pull on my lever. We can see the bead of the tires up over the duck head. Now I can move my assist arm and I'm ready to rotate. You're going to see the first part of the tire to clear the sensor is right here. So now my sensor is not at risk of being damaged, and I'm going to continue to rotate. You can also see all the dry rot in this tire, which is why we're replacing them. There we go. Now the top bead is off, and we're going to continue to the lower bead. Now I need to get my TPMS sensor back to that original location, back here right behind the ducktail. So I'm just going to keep rotating it. Now I'm back in that original location, and now I can use my lever to get the bottom bead unmounted. I'm going to gently lift up on my tire like we've always done. Use my lever to go all the way to the bottom. Gently lift up. And now I can pry down. Now I'm going to do something I never want my students to do, which is I'm going to slide the bar over here for a moment so that I can show you a close-up. Never let go of that bar, as it can fly up and smack you in the head here. But I want to show you a close-up. As we look underneath here, you can see the lever right there, you can see the sensor right here, and you notice the bead of my tire has already cleared it. It's out of the way. So I'm not going to hit that sensor, and I'm not going to cause damage, which is the key part of doing all this. So I'm going to unhook my lever here, the one I said never let go of, and we're going to continue to rotate. Bar comes out nice and easy. I'm going to release my assist arm. Push that out of the way, and now I can move my tire out of the way. With the tire out of the way, now I can see I do have a little corrosion on this rim also. I'm going to clean that up, but before I clean it up, I want to get my TPMS sensor out of the way. Again, we're going to pretend that we're reusing these, so I'm going to use my T10 Torx to remove the screw. Sensor just slides off. I'm going to gently screw that back in place so I don't lose it. And now I can go ahead and use my cutters to remove that part. I'm going to gently screw that into place so it's ready for me. I'm going to take my cutters and just cut the top edge here. This does go all the way through, so you won't be able to cut all the way through it. There we go. And with my rag in place here, I can just pry it down, except this one popped off. We'll try that again. And now I have that piece out. Because I had my rag there, again, no scratches. Now that my valve stem's out of the way, I can grab my wire wheel and clean up my rim, get rid of the corrosion that's on there. Because this is a rim going on an actual car, I am going to take the time to clean up this corrosion and get rid of that. I am also going to wear a dust mask because that stuff's not very good to breathe. You can see some right here. And this is not a stainless steel wheel, it's actually like a fibrous composite, so it doesn't react with the aluminum alloy of the rim. Alright, that feels much better. Last thing we're going to do is use a little bit of degreaser and clean off that dust. Now it's nice and clean for the customer and guaranteed not to have leaks. So I want to show you what the process would be like to rebuild these sensors. Now the first thing you would do is take the TPMS tool and scan this and make sure it actually is functioning. You can order up these replacement valve stems. I got mine through Rock Auto. They were $1 a piece, really cheap. And they come with that and a new screw. So what you would do is take out this old screw here. Take my new valve stem, slide that into place, take my new screw, and then run that up into the bottom of the valve stem. Now that would be ready to be installed into the rim, just like we're about to do here with the brand new one. Before we go through the work of installing our new sensor, we want to test it and make sure it is a known good sensor. They can be bad out of the box, or maybe it's one you're reusing. So we're going to do initial sensor test, yes, Subaru, and we'll just hit test. Hold this up by the sensor antenna, and it grabbed it real quick. Now we can see it's actually reading accurately. Because it's not in a tire, it's only showing 0.19 psi. We can see our sensor ID, 315 megahertz, so we're ready to go. We know we have a good sensor, and we can go ahead and put this into our rim and get ready to mount our tire. So we're going to take our new sensor, we're going to put just a little bit of lubricant on it, tire lube, so that rubber slides into place nicely. Put this into the opening. I've already cleaned that. We'll grab our valve stem installer, thread that down, keeping our sensor nice and even. And now I'm going to put my rag over here so that I don't scratch my rim, and then I'm going to gently pop this into place. I'm going to move this a little closer so that everybody can kind of see how you know when it's actually in place. So I'm going to gently pull down, and you're going to see it kind of pop up. There it goes. Now it's ready to go. Just going to unscrew this, and new sensor is installed, and we verified it is a good sensor. Before I go and put the tire lube on my tire and rim, I want to point out that this is a directional tire. If you look up here at the top, you're going to see where it says rotation. It has an arrow pointing this way because it does have a bit of a V pattern to the tread. I prefer these tires. I just think they handle better. And then also on my rim down here, you're going to see my arrow. So I need to make sure these agree with each other. So as I set this down, it's going to go like that. Arrow on the tire pointing that direction, arrow on the rim pointing that direction. Now I know they're going to match up when I put them back on the car. So I'm ready to put the tire lube on here, otherwise known as dead rat. And you do have to be pretty generous with this stuff. So we're going to put it on the rim where the tire bead would go. And then also on the tire. Now the paste that most shops use, I would agree, works better. But for my students, we do this as a lab, and I've got like 150 students doing this. It gets really messy. So I prefer to use the liquid version because it dries up a lot faster and it's ready to go for the next group. Now, while we're doing this, if it starts drying up, I'll just apply more. Now again, we're going to make sure our arrows agree with each other. Going to set that up there. And the secret to doing this now is I need my TPMS sensor opposite of where my duck head is going to be. So I'm going to rotate this some more. And now I'm going to bring in my arm. We're going to push down, lock it in place. I'm going to set the bead over the duck tail, under the duck head, and I'm going to gently push. And I'll give you a little bit more of a close-up here. The bead of my tire is right here by the valve stem. right by it, but it's not on it yet. That's the key to this. We want that to be the very last spot that pops into place. Over here, my mounting head, over the tail, under the head. So I'm gonna leave it like that so you can watch this happen. There it goes, pops right on. Now we're gonna do this again, but I gotta reset it. I need my TPMS sensor to be over here on this side. So I'm gonna back this up, lift up with my toe. This side is always much more difficult to do. A lot more difficult to do. So we're gonna use some tools to help us out here. First of all, we're gonna use the clamp. And we're gonna put this right here. Give myself a little more room to work. I'm gonna put it right here by the TPMS sensor. That'll keep my tire from slipping and kind of sliding around the rim. Now I can see it's starting to dry up a little bit already. So we'll put a little bit more on here. It just makes seating the bead much easier. I'm going to rotate this around. Now you're going to see these two are lined up perfectly, but I'm not on the sensor. I'm going to bring my assist arm in. I can see it starting to pop up here. And that's not good. It's going to pop off. So I'm going to use my assist arm to push it down. There we go. Now I've got a nice gap here. The bead of my tire is going to go into the drop center of the rim, and I'm going to keep rotating. Light pressure. Slide this over a little more, and you're going to see right here is going to be the very last spot to go into place. Going to work that tire into the drop center of the rim. Going to go just a little more. You can literally see that spot of the tire, the last spot. Boom. That's exactly what I want. Definitely not going to hit the sensor that way. Now I'm ready to move my arm out of the way. Oops. Now I can remove my clamp. Should the clamp get stuck in place, you could always use that assist arm to help remove that. And I need to release my jaws. We don't want the jaws holding it in place, otherwise they get pinched. So I'm going to step down on the middle lever here. Just kind of center up the tire again. Now I'm ready to seat the bead. I'm going to grab our air hose. Place that on the stem. And down at the bottom here is my pedal for inflating it. We do not want any part of our body over the top of this tire. I'm even going to hold the air hose over here, so should something pop up, I am not in the way. So let's start seating the bead. Now this spot right here is kind of the last one to seat. So what we're going to do is scoot ourselves out of the way. We're going to rotate that to the back so we don't get sprayed with all of the tire lube, dead rat, and we'll keep inflating. Now as we're filling it, the side of the tire is going to have a maximum PSI. In this case it's 44 PSI. We do not, while we are seating it, want to go over 44 PSI. Right now my gauge says only, I think 8 or 10 PSI, so we got plenty of room to go. So we're going to keep filling this, and we're going to keep seating the bead. You can see back there is my last spot to seat. It's always scary doing this. That last ping always gets you. I'm just going to lift to make sure it's not jammed up on the machine. There's one more. Still got this last part. And I'm going to check my gauge again. As I look at that, I'm only at 20 PSI, barely. So we still got lots of room as we're inflating it to seat this bead. If we had used the paste, this would have worked a lot better. Almost ready to go. There it is. It always gets you. It's always scary. Now all sides of my tire have been seated. I'm going to take this off just to show you. All the way around here is equally seated. When I flip this up, all the way around is equally seated. That's what we're after. Now, if you're my students, you're going to fill this to 10 psi and leave it. So if you need to let air out, you're going to let air out. If you're doing this for real, then you're going to go ahead and fill it up to whatever the manufacturer says. So I'm going to let some air out of this. And we're going to take it back down to 10 psi because that's what I want for my shop to keep my students safe. Just in case the next group forgets to let the air out before they break the bead, we're going to take it back down to 10 psi so it's ready to go for the next group. Okay, that's close. Now my gauge is at 10 psi, just a touch over, but that's okay. Nice and safe for the next group. All right, now we're ready to take our wheel off of the tire machine, and we're going to take it over the balancer and do that next.